What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and we're going to go a little old school real quick. But this is Friday Night Live. The old school intro. How's that? Welcome. Let me get over to the comments, get everything rocking and rolling. Whoo, what a day. What a week, actually. I've been catching giants this week. It's been a lot of fun. I feel bad for everybody who is fishing the Georgia KBF State Challenge. Yeah, we've been doing pretty good. But anyway, pretty awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for all the likes. If you guys haven't hit the thumbs up, be sure to hit the thumbs up. We'll let everybody jump on here. Louis Goins, what's going on, man? What's going on? James DeMille, or Demi? I can't tell if it's an I or an L. Welcome, Terry. Welcome, everybody. Matt Birch, how you doing, man? How you doing? Good to see you, man. Oh man. Logan White, Caden McClellan, Bradley Hamry. Welcome. Goodness. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week. The kids started school yesterday, which is my favorite day of the year, and I was able to concentrate just on fishing. So I shot one video today, which I hope Jordan can get it edited tonight before we go to bed, on another fish finder video, which is really, really cool. But anyway, Kinfolk Farm, what's going on, y'all? Hey, this dude right here, Kinfolk Farm, he goes to my dad's church, or went to my dad's church, goes to my mom's church, lives, I don't know where you live now. He's got a farm, but he's got me wanting to do a farming channel, something fierce, because I do the same thing he does. I just don't put it on video. Anyway, that'd be awesome. What's going on, Ed, Chris, Dale, Kyler Jennings? What's up, brother? Caleb Scott, Thomas Goodner. It just popped out of the way. I can't see it anymore. Man, these comments are coming quick. All right, real quick, since we got about 140 people. Brent Coleman, thanks for the $20 dono, man. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. You are totally awesome. Now, the giveaway. At the end of each month, I'm giving away a $50 gift certificate to my website, to flukemaster.com. And I'm going to I'm going to go back, and I'm going to give the previous winner of last month this too, and a $50 Tackle Warehouse gift certificate. So at the end of the month, I'm just going to donate that. The way you enter is you go to my website, you buy a sticker, $5 sticker. You get it shipped to you. When you get it, stick it on something, take a picture of it, put it on Instagram, and do hashtag #StuckOnFluke and tag me. That's it. That's all you got to do. And at the end of the month, I search through those, pick somebody at random, and pick a winner. So it is pretty awesome, pretty cool. So you guys go ahead and do that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But goodness gracious. Ron 24, thoughts on college football? I'm bummed. We haven't heard anything from the SEC yet, so I'm not bummed quite yet. But whatever happens. So honestly, football is usually, when college football starts, it's usually when my views of my videos start to tank. So I'm interested to see what it does this year, now that there's not going to be a whole lot of college football. But I am going to be I'm going to be depressed if Georgia can't play. So Caden McClellan, welcome, man. He says, hey, I'm 13 years old, looking for a way to fish tournaments, and I need a kayak. So may you do a kayak video, a kayak giveaway. I'd have to get with Bonafide and see. That's one of those things. I'm still waiting on them to get caught up. I haven't gotten my kayak this year. I was supposed to get it in May or April. I was supposed to get it in April, and they've been so backed up because of COVID. I'm still waiting, but I'll talk to them, see if we can do one later on. That would be awesome. Let's see. What do you think of Wilderness Systems looking at a radar 115? I really haven't got a whole lot of experience with the Wildy's radars. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. I paddled what's the 14-footer? I can't remember the name of it. But I paddled it several years ago when Chad loaned me one. So Preston, even if they can play, they won't win. Oh, Cornhuskers fan. Goodness. Johnny Ariel, it's been hot in the Midwest, had a pretty good pattern finding them grouped up, catching them deep cranking. Question is, we had a cold front, the fish broke up, and they didn't go to the banks. Now, they kind of did the same thing on my lakes. We had a cold front move through, and we had about a 7-8 degree drop, and they went from 12 to 15 feet up to the 10-foot range. They just moved up a few feet, and they went and found cover in that at that depth. And if the cover they were currently in, or if let me start over, if they were in cover that was 10 to 15 feet deep, but also that cover went up to the 10 or the 8-foot range, they just stayed there and just moved up shallower. They started to suspend a little bit more. And I had to start catching them on like something that fell really, really slow. I had to lighten up my Texas rig and a couple other things. So, yeah, they do funky things when that kind of happens. But I did catch a good one today. Matter of fact, the one that is on the what do they call it, the thumbnail for this video, I caught it yesterday. It was a 20 1/4. Moved me up to like 108 inches or something like that on the challenges. So. Man, that's a funny comment. Thanks, Preston. I needed that. Michael, happy Friday, man. All the way from San Francisco. Just got into bass fishing, learned everything I know from the Fluke Master. That's so awesome, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You guys remember to hit the thumbs up or the like button if you're over on Facebook. What's a good worm color for nighttime? I actually my rule of thumb is if I can't see light through it, it's good for nighttime and good for muddy conditions. So I'll hold it up to the light, and if the light doesn't shine through it, I use it. Dark colors, green pumpkin works good. And if you're fishing, the only change to that is if you're fishing boat docks that have lights in them at night, use a dark color, but have some glitter in it, green pumpkin magic. Something to reflect that light is a huge trick. It works great. Say, Mac and Shannon King, favorite jig setup, bait rod, reel, etc. Favorite jig setup is a 7'3" heavy. I've got one of the new Fate Blacks. It's really, really good. I think that one's like a $90 rod, $89 rod, but it's 7'3" heavy. It's always been my favorite action and length rod, even back when I was fishing with Dobbins 100 years ago. Reel is always going to be an 8-3 to 1, just a high-speed reel. 8-1 to 1, 8-5 to 1 is the new concept. A's and C's are like 8-5 to 1. And then line is 20-pound fluorocarbon to start with, and if I'm fishing muddy water or really thick, heavy cover, I'm going to up it to 65-pound braid. Jig are usually the ones I make myself. I bought 300 or 400 jig heads several years ago. They're in a box in my barn, and when I want to make a jig, I just pull one out, tie one up, and make 3 or 4 of them and go fishing. So, all right. Wow, you guys are killing me on the comments. They're going fast. That's awesome. David, man, thanks for the $5. $5 super sticker. I don't know what the super stickers are. I got to figure that out. I keep forgetting to look. So, let's see. Can you going to Phoenix, Arizona to fishing? I don't understand that question, Brandon. I'm sorry. Favorite topwater bait this time of year? Ohio, shout out. Whew, my favorite topwater bait of all time is a clear Super Spook Junior. I fished it on Clark's Hill, which is a blueback herring lake, and caught thousands of fish on one. I mean, I went through, I don't know how many. I'd wear them out. I did get to the point where you couldn't see through them anymore because they had so many teeth scratches on it from fish. That's probably my favorite. Now, for thick stuff, it's going to be the 13 Fishing Trash Panda. I'm very partial to that, but I've tested it, and I had a lot of input when they were designing it about how the hooks were supposed to be and how easy it was supposed to be to collapse. It didn't have to be too easy, but it needed to be able to collapse easy. It floats right out of the box, so you're not going to take on water. There's a ton of different things I love about that thing, and it walks like a dream. But goodness. Andrew McCartney, thanks for the $10 super sticker. You guys are going to make me figure out what that thing is. It pops up every once in a while. You guys will start donating them, and I forget to look afterwards. But thank you, man. I appreciate it. You're awesome. You are awesome. Lee Wells, thanks for the $5. He says, any tips to find fish without fish finders? Don't have any on my boat right now and can't get any. Then all you got is the rod, the bait, and your eyeballs. And so what I do is, and basically I just keep an eye out, and I'm looking for certain things. And I've said this in a lot of different videos where I talk about finding fish, is look for bait fish ticking on the surface. You're looking for a part of the area of the lake or an area that has a higher concentration of life than any other place on the lake or any other place you've been. So if you can find a place that's got a lot of bait ticking on the surface, birds on the bank, you know, the fish eating birds like blue herons, egrets and that kind of stuff. If you see birds on the bank, then that's a dead giveaway that there's a lot of bait there, and you're looking for the food the bass are going to eat. Then you start, once you find that, then you start finding places the bass would be to catch that food, like in a brush pile or in rocks or on a point. You got a point that comes out from the bank, and it's going to go out into the water, and you're going to fish around that area. You're going to be throwing at things that you can see mainly, and then just have fun, dude. But that's the trick. You're looking for life. They got to eat, dude. Then they're lazy. They don't want to go far. So best rod to flip and punch with and frog fish. Flip, punch, frog. See, when I frog fish, I like a short rod. Most of you guys know that. I like a 6'6", 6'10". I don't like a really, really long rod. But the majority of people like a 7'6" or longer heavy action rod for frogging, for punching, and for flipping. So 7'6", 7'11". I know some guys are starting to use the 8-foot heavy rods to do that with. The biggest thing is when you're flipping and punching with it, you've got to have one that's fairly balanced. It can be a little tip heavy with the bait on and everything else, but fairly balanced, or it just wears you out during the day if you're doing it all day long. So S&S Outdoors, man, I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going, man? He says good places in mid-north Georgia for big bass and what to catch them on. Also, how do I know where drop-offs are when I'm on my kayak? Thanks. Drop-offs are, you gotta have a fish finder to find them most of the time, unless you're just lucky and you're dragging on the bottom and all of a sudden you lose contact with your bait and you see that it's falling some more. You either just came over top of a limb and it's falling, or you just dropped off of a ledge. But good places to fish in middle North Georgia. The new Hard Labor Creek Reservoir is really, really good. Most of the county reservoirs, the best thing to do is to go on the DNR website and look into the fishing section of it, and you can find places to fish searching by county, and just search your surrounding counties, dude, and you'll find good places. There's so many good places that have big fish, but Hard Labor Creek in about 3 or 4 years is going to be unbelievable. Just the fish there are really, really healthy. They're not huge right now, but in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to be great. So, Kurt Weissmuller, I've never caught a fish on a Carolina rig. Any advice where to start? Start fishing it. No, you probably fished it. I'm sorry. I'm just busting your tail. Best thing to do is to go, I throw Carolina rigs like on points and on offshore humps and drop offs and things like that. Kind of the same places I would throw a jig to start with if you're just trying to catch fish on it. They're really good in short grass that's on the bottom, not real good in tall grass. And so that's the biggest things. People say, oh, it's Carolina rigs made for grass. No, it's better for offshore stuff. It's better for deep stuff. And short grass, and you'll catch them, dude. And when you get bit, you want to hammer down on them, lower it down, and sweep that hook set to the side, and you'll catch the fish. If you set over top of your head, the chances you jerking that bait out of the fish's mouth, it goes way up. So, how about Tim and Matt from Tackle Bass and moving to Chick? Yeah, I heard rumor about that about 2-3 months ago. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Maybe they'll want to collab with people now. I don't know. But dude, they're moving where the big fish are. I just hope that it stays that way with the what do they call it? The carp that are moving up out of Kentucky Lake and moving up Tennessee River. That's my biggest concern, is that those carp are going to mess things up. So, got any tips for fishing big lakes? Just got a bona fide and is wondering how to target my local lake. Pick a creek arm, pick a small section of the lake and dissect it and fish just that section for a few days. And that's how I do any big lake on my kayak. Gunnersville, I'm getting ready for the national championship in October, and I'm narrowing that part of the lake down to, just smaller and smaller until I figure out what few creek arms I want to go spend time in. And that's basically what I'm going to do. That's the best way to do it. Don't look at it as a big lake. Look at it as a whole bunch of little lakes put together, and just pick a little lake. Ed Cook, thanks for the $10, man. I appreciate it. It says, in past video, you listed a basic set of 3 rods to cover all bases, all fast action. You then talk about moderate action. Yeah, that would be the additional to those 3 rods. Then you talk about moderate action. If I were trying to stick to 3 rods set up for bank fishing, should any be moderate action? No, because you can get by with a medium fast action rod used like a moderate action rod. It's got a little bit more flex in it, but it's stiff enough to be able to where you can catch up with the fish fast and they don't get you hung up in whatever's on the bank. But a moderate rod would be that 4th or maybe even the 5th rod. So, but you can get by. My best friend for years, and he probably still does, fishes deep diving crankbaits on a jig rod, a heavy action or a medium heavy 7'6" jig rod. And I used to bust his balls big time about it, but he caught fish. And so that was a big thing. But yeah, dude, that's kind of what I was talking about. When is a good indication that the bass are on transition into early fall patterns? They start to migrate and they start to concentrate on them in the mouths of major creeks. Or anywhere, if you got a lot of water flow coming somewhere into the lake, the mouth of that water flow or that creek, they're going to concentrate there first. And it will be as the water temperature starts to drop. And usually about low 70s, mid to low 70s, you'll start to see them migrate that way. That's a rule of thumb. That's not gospel. So Sean Lay, man, thanks for the $5. He says, hope you're doing well. Have you tried new Concept Z slide? The spool on mine sounds like it catches on something in free spool. Have you heard of that? I have not tried one. I've held them in my hand, but I haven't tried them. That you would have to, seriously, Sean, the first thing you need to do is call them or get a hold of them somehow. Their reel guy is phenomenal. He's been doing it for years and years and years. Not the guy that designed it. He's also been doing it for 100 years, but their reel repair guy is a freaking stud, and he'll help you out, man. Definitely. Josh, thanks for the $5. He says, you inspired me to get into yak fishing. My question is, if you could only have 3 lure setups, what would you recommend for a new kayaker? 3. A spinning rod to start with, a medium action spinning rod. That way, if the bite gets tough, you can go and throw some light stuff on light line. A medium heavy fast action or extra fast rod, but a fast action would probably be good. It doesn't matter. There's not much difference between the two. And then a medium fast action. And those are the 3. If you ask for my 3 basic rods, whether I'm bank fishing or in a kayak, those are the 3 I'm going to go with because they cover most everything. And then if you get into the heavy stuff, like I'm dragging jigs right now, I'm going to throw a heavy action rod or heavy power rod, and I'm going to, just so I can get a strong hook set on the big fish that I'm catching. So anyway, cool, man. Thanks for the $5. Let's see. I'm gonna back up a little bit. I know I skipped a whole bunch of comments. Kevin Kenny, man, thanks for that. I appreciate it. So thanks for the great content. I'm new to fishing and I've learned a lot from you. I appreciate you, man. Rod Row, what's the secret to getting up at 5 a.m.? Woo! I wish I knew. Go to bed early. Go to bed at 9. My only problem is my wife likes to stay up and watch TV, so I can't go to bed quite that early. I wish I could, though. What affordable rod does 13 have for fishing a chatterbait specifically? They now have a chatter crank rod in just about every model. So you look for that rod, and That's a great rod for a chatterbait. It's great for like heavy spinner baits and that kind of stuff. It says chatter crank, but it's not good for like light square bills. It's good for deep diving crankbaits and lipless crankbaits and that kind of stuff. So it's just a little bit stiffer. Aiden Whitaker, man, I love that picture right there. Go Dogs. We caught a bunch of busting bass with poppers and walking baits, but could have caught a lot more. What should we have thrown? Also, Go Dogs. I've had fish blown up all over me this week, and I catch them on little paddle tail swim baits when I want to, but I've been ignoring them and catching big ones on structure in the area. I'll see small ones busting bait and chasing bait up on the surface and that kind of stuff, and then I'll go look around and see what drops and rock piles and logs and stumps are in that area using my fish finder, mark them, and then come back and fish them and catch big ones. So, all right, let's see. Connor M, I've been having a hard time with the Ned rig. Got any advice? Are you missing fish? Are you just not catching fish? What exactly are you doing? Biggest thing about a Ned rig is when you feel the bite, you got to lay the wood to them. Have your drag set right so you don't break your line, but set the hook over your head and set them pretty hard. So don't be a wussy. Set your hook. Todd Bain, thanks for the $10. It says fishing Altoona this weekend. Any recommendations? Red Top Mountain area. Now, I haven't fished Altoona in about, seriously, in probably about 16 years. I always catch fish along Altoona Pass, which is just south of Red Top Mountain. All the points that are around Red Top Mountain are really good this time of the year, and then look for brush piles on the end of points, and they'll be right there. I'm not sure what bait. I don't know what the water clarity is, but that's usually the places I catch them. So, Caden D Outdoor says, would you use a 7-foot medium moderate for chatterbaits and swim jigs? 7-foot to medium moderate for chatterbaits and swim jigs. If it's fairly stiff, yes, I would. Mine are all 7'2", 7'4". They're medium moderate, but they've got a little bit more backbone than what a typical deep diving crankbait rod would be. But you can still get the hook set. I mean, you just got to pull a little bit harder, and it's not much harder. I just do so much fishing, I can tell the difference, I guess. But you should be all right doing that. Illuminathan 79 says, I'm getting a bona fide SS-127 tomorrow. You inspired me always to get into kayak fishing. It literally saved my life. Thanks, Gene. That's awesome, man. I appreciate it. And have fun with that stinking thing. Modify it the way you want to modify it. Make it yours and have a blast, man. Absolutely. Tell you, my favorite way to fish off that thing is to drop one of the straps. You know, the straps tighten up on your seat. Drop one of the straps and spin and sit side saddle and fish off the side of your boat. It's just comfortable, feet in the water, staying cool. So, should I fish jigs in clear grassy water? I haven't caught anything with a jig, and I've been wanting to learn how to. I have a better luck with like bare hard bottoms and kind of rocky gravelly banks and that kind of stuff with a jig. With grass, I'm throwing a swim jig because the swim jig it got a cone shaped head, and it's made to come through that grass a lot easier. And I'm not so much fishing it on the bottom. So a regular jig works really good on hard bottom and that kind of stuff. And a swim jig works really good in grass. When do you use a leader, if at all, fishing for bass? I use a leader when I'm fishing clear water, but I need the strength of braid. And what comes to mind is like dock fishing. And I'm dock fishing in a clear lake. I want the braid so the line, if the bass wraps me around a pole or something like that, the braid's not going to break and not going to hold together a little bit better. And a short leader. Another time I would use it is like I always use them on a spinning rod 100% of the time, where it's a braided line to a fluorocarbon leader, because braid has such fewer problems, so many fewer problems on a spinning reel than any other line does. Out of a kayak, it's a good idea. I don't do it because I have I have a hook set that almost throws me out of the boat every time. But on a kayak, it's really good because you make up for a lot of that hook set power that you lose because your boat goes towards the fish when you set the hook. So Jeff Beaton, thanks for the $5. He says, do you fish square bills in the summer, hitting 90 degrees in the Northeast, rough fishing these days? I don't. I fish worms on the bottom. I fish plastic worms. I fish creature baits, lizards. I do a lot of deep cranking. I'm bouncing and staying close to the bottom or close to cover. I don't throw square bills very much unless I'm in an area that's all shallow water with a lot of different cover. And then I'm looking for that reaction bite. They do work, but you got to be in the right areas. So Rocky Top 522, thanks for the $5. He says, thanks for all your content and advice. New to KBF and wondering what size rod do you recommend for Carolina rig out of a kayak? 7'6", medium heavy. No matter what you're fishing out of, 7'6", medium heavy or longer. You'll thank me later. It's one of those things where it's a staple for me. What knot do you use for topwater frog? I always use braided line for a topwater frog, always. And I'm always tying a Palomar knot with braided line. When I'm tying directly to a lure with braid, always a Palomar knot. It never has slipped on me. It never has given me issues. There's no reason to try any other crazy knot that somebody says, that one is awesome. It works. What's your opinion on braided fluorocarbon? Braided fluorocarbon, never heard of it. So I guess that's my opinion. Do you have any tips on or recommendations for when you are stuck fishing in one spot? For example, piece of property on lake and boat ramp. If you're on somebody's property and you can't go off of it, if that person will allow you to put a fish attractor out in the water, make 4 or 5 PVC style fish attractors. There's tons of YouTube videos out there about them, and put them out there in, a cast away, and it'll help draw those fish in. I don't know what kind of lake that is, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. Boat ramps are a little trickier. There's always fish that hang out at the end of the ramp. You just have to get out of people's way when they're putting in and out. But yeah, that's what I would do, is I'd put brush out where you can make a cast to it. David Fields, my brother, what's up, man? And he done donated $50. What's up, man? He said, "What's up, homie? Sorry, late to the party. What do you think of Tim and Matt moving to your backyard?" Somebody already asked that question, so yeah, you are late to the party, bro. Dude, I'm excited. I hope. See, in the past they haven't wanted to do. I've noticed that they haven't wanted to do collabs, and I'd love to do collaborative videos with them. I'd love to pick their brain because, gosh almighty, to be able to pull their experience from out in California. Now, I've known Matt for many, many years and seen what he's been able to do out in California. I love and can't wait to see what they can do here in Chickamauga. So they're awesome. What is the airspeed velocity of unladen swamp? Oh, Matthew. Golly, I love that movie. What's your go-to weight size on Texas rig? Not deep water fishing. Not deep water fishing. I'm going to start with a 1/4 ounce. If it's grassy and I want to stay above it, I'm going to go down to an 1/8 ounce. But a 1/4 ounce is usually where I start when I'm fishing fairly shallow. What am I doing wrong losing bass when they jump? Couple of things. You get a better hook. I'm saying this for a reason. I was fishing. Jordan and I were fishing the other day, and he was 50 yards away from me. He hooked into a fish, and I watched him. I watched the rod bend. I watched the fight, and as soon as that, and it was a good solid hook set, I could tell that. But as soon as that fish jumped, that bait popped out of that fish's mouth, and I looked at him and I yelled at him. And I said, "Change hooks now!" And he pulled that hook out, and it was bent. It had been squished in for some reason, and he changed hooks and didn't have a problem. A lot of times you're not setting the hook hard enough, or your hook is dull and you need to change out, or the style of hook you're using isn't working quite right. That gets a little technical. I'd have to make a whole nother video about it, but that's kind of the issues. Only a few times have I been able to identify the fact that I'm catching fish. They're hooking, they're biting, but they're clamping down on my bait so hard that I can't get a hook into them. And that happened a couple of years ago when I was fishing with oh gosh, John Cox, the FLW champion. Him and I were kayak fishing on Bienville, and we were catching them on chatterbaits, but literally we'd fight them and fight them and fight them, and the minute they'd come out of the water and open their mouth, they would just spit right back at us. And the way we fixed that is we started triple setting. So we'd set the hook on the fish and then start going whoa, 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 as you know, keeping the line somewhat tight but pulling it and trying to get that fish to free it up just enough to get a hook in them. So that was the only time I could absolutely identify what was going on. That doesn't happen very often. So Brian Mears from Facebook says, new to kayak fishing and purchased a Lowrance Hook 2 4X and cannot find anything on YouTube to learn how to use it. Help, please, and love your channel. I don't know much about what Lowrance is doing to show people how to use those, you know, how to use their stuff. But what I've started doing in the video I actually filmed today is I go out in the water and I put the camera in front of my fish finder and I set the fish finder up where it's down imaging and regular sonar and a map. And I go around and I point out what things are. And I show you how I find bass. Today I was actually able to catch a few that I saw in the fish finder. So it should be pretty good. And that's, I hope to help you guys, no matter what fish finder you have, hope to help you guys learn more about what you're seeing by doing those videos. So, but look at those style videos. I know there's a few other guys that are doing something similar. So look up that kind of stuff. And then your settings on the hook too should be already set for you. At least that's what my understanding is. Enjoy your videos. They always give me good info. What is that white thing on your cap? This thing right here. See if I can get into focus. This is called the angler bullseye. And I don't know, you're not gonna be able to see it because of the lighting, but when I hit it, a little red light, there it goes. Little red light lights up in the center. And what that does is it sends a signal to the app on my phone, the Angler app. And when I catch a fish, after I've released it or done whatever I need to with it, I reach up here and I hit the button. It sends the information to my app. It remembers, by using it through the app, it remembers what the weather was, what the wind was, what the barometric pressure was. Why is it having trouble focusing now? It's crazy. But anyway, and it saves a ton of information. You can even put lures and the rods you're using and use it as a logbook and that kind of stuff. But you can go back at the end of your trip and evaluate what was going on weather-wise when you caught that fish or what you did different. And it also traces you around on a map. It's pretty cool. Uses Google Earth, and you can follow yourself and where you fished. So you're able to reevaluate your days. My fishing, since I started using that a year and a half ago, my fishing and my ability to change stuff and to move and to see things happening weather-wise has gone through the roof. And I'm not sponsored by them. They don't pay me to do this. I wear this because I use it. And I use it all the time. I got 2 more in my truck just in case this one dies, or you know, they're good for 2 years. But dude, they're awesome, and the app's awesome. So definitely check it out. And in my videos, most of my videos, there's a link in the description. You can click on them, click on that link, and it takes you over and tells you all the information you need to know about it. So all right, let's get caught back up. I know I'm way behind on comments, and I appreciate you guys being patient with me. Hey, are you going to compete in the 2021 KBF National Championship? For right now, yes, but my son Jordan also qualified for it. So I haven't looked at the rules yet. It may be that he has to have somebody, an adult, following him if he's under 18. I'm not sure. I got to check. It might be under 16. And if it's under 16, I'm just going to let him go do it because he just turned 16. But anyway, so Jordan qualified and I qualified. So, yes, I'm going to be fishing in it. But it all depends on when it is too. So, what does that tell you? Tell you all this. I don't shop at Walmart very much, but I was at a shallow Nico bite a couple weeks ago and was in a pinch for some hooks and bought some Eagle Claw Nico hooks. Eagle Claw still makes good hooks. I mean, just because they're sold at Walmart doesn't mean they're bad. So, any tips to finally locate fish when you just aren't seeing bait and fish on the fish finder? Summertime fishing. Whew. Just keep going deeper is all I got to say, or go look for what happens a lot is they'll find current or they'll find grass and they'll move into that grass, anything that's creating oxygen. And a lot of times in lakes that you don't see them deep, they're shallow and there's somewhere that they can be and be alive, stay alive. I'll look for water like creeks and stuff running into the lake and that kind of stuff. But that's the first thing that popped into my head was the fact that if they're not deep, they're shallow. If they're not shallow, they're deep. But you got to realize, you got to figure out what's holding them there. And it might be, the grass might be so thick that you can't see bait fish on your fish finder because they're in the grass. So, let's see. How can I get rid of wind knots with my spinning gear using 20-pound braid and 8-pound fluorocarbon? There's two ways I do it. If I'm in the water on my kayak or in a boat or anything like that, I will cut the lure off and I'll lay the line out in the water and let it run as I'm going forward with my boat or my kayak. I lay the line out and I let it run behind the boat and I just keep letting it out, most of the spool, and then I reel it back in. And what that did is that as it was going out and as that line got tight, it was spinning out and it was getting the spin out of your line. The other way I do it is if I'm on the bank or if I'm getting my gear ready and I've got one that I notice it has really bad twist, I'll put a sinker on the end of it. I'll tie it on there like a bell sinker or a split shot or a drop shot sinker or something like that. And I'll find a tall tree. And I'll find a tall tree that's got a limb hanging off of it. And I will throw it over top of that tree, let it come back down on that sinker and try to, make it come all the way down to where I can reach the sinker, take the sinker off, and just let that line spin off and then reel it back through the tree. Those are the two ways I do it. I'm the only one I know of that does the tree trick, but it works. I've done it a lot of times. So I love this question. Jerry, man, he says, Fluke, what do you think of the live view sonar fish finders? Almost seems like cheating. No, I don't think it's cheating. I think it should be considered sight fishing though, because people could snag a fish doing that. I've used them. I've seen that kind of stuff. I really think it ought to be considered sight fishing or something similar to it. Other than that, it's just another tool. I've always been all for technological advances and that kind of stuff. More power to them. I hope I get one day. So, any chance you'd make some videos with Tyler's Real Fishing? He's crazy smart for his age. I see him being just like Justin Rackley in 10 years. I've done videos with Tyler. I've stayed at his uncle's house. We meet up usually every September. We have a meet and greet up in Minnesota when he's up there, and I'm usually up there for the Lumacraft conference. So yeah, dude, I've done videos with him. Great kid. Absolutely love him. It's been fun watching him grow up. Chad Burton says, went to Guntersville for the first time. OMG, the grass was crazy. I found your video after I went, and can you talk more on grass specific to Guntersville? Also, could you do a video on from IDing grass? That must have been a typo. Sorry, bro. Grass on Guntersville, you got two major types of grass. There's 7 different types of grass that I know of on Guntersville, but 2 that you see all the time: eelgrass and hydrilla. And the eelgrass fish grows deep, and so does the hydrilla. But the eelgrass is starting to take over a lot worse. I treat it like land, to be honest with you. I fish the points of the grass. Anything that sticks out further than anything else, especially along the creek channel or river channel, I'm going to fish it. It's a whole different animal. You've got to literally go sit and watch every video I've done about grass fishing, and you can catch fish on Guntersville anytime you go. But you gotta put the time out there, because they will be in one little bitty spot in that grass and they won't be anywhere else. And you have to find that spot and then sit there and milk it. I've done it a lot. It's a lot of fun. Jordan and I were out there the other day, and we were half a mile from what it seemed like the closest bank, catching fish in grass. So Let's see. All right, we're gonna jump way ahead, see if I can catch up with some of these newer comments. Mr. Rick just bought his first kayak. Says it's a whole new way to fish. It is, man. It is so cool. Oh, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love my boat. I love my Alumacraft. It takes me out on big water. I'm able to find fish fast and everything else. There's just something cool about catching a fish in a kayak. It's hard to put your finger on what it is. It's just a lot of fun. So, hey, Fluke Master, I have big smallmouth in my local river. They are in heavy cover, logs, rocks, bushes. How would you target them? It's only like 5 feet deep average. I don't know what the current is, but my first thought was just something that's not going to get hung up as much, like a lightweight Texas rig, 1/4 ounce Texas rig with a little creature bait on it. A paddle tail or spinner bait. Spinner bait would work really good too. Paddle tail swim bait that is rigged with a swim bait head that's weedless. It's got a weighted, the weight is on the hook or on the shaft of the hook, and then you put it up into the bait, and it's a weedless swim bait head is what it is, or swim bait hook is what I would throw. Gabriel Langford, do you do any deer hunting? I don't get a chance to do it too much anymore. Honestly, I'm a better deer hunter than I am a fisherman. I used to feed several families every year. Shot a lot of big deer. I knew a lot. I mean, I was able to, it got boring to me, to be honest with you. I could go out and shoot a deer just about every time I was in the woods. I hardly ever hunted out of a stand. I'd just go for a walk and sneak up on them. And it was a lot of fun. But I just got bored with it and stopped doing it. Now I sign up for quota hunts for my kids, and we go do quota hunts and camping and have a whole lot of fun. And my boys do all the shooting, and I just have a whole lot of fun teaching them how to skin them and how to clean them and all that other stuff that needs to be done after you shoot them. So, best kayak PFD. The only one that I use at this moment is the Chinook from NRS. If you see my red one that I wear, it's starting to fade really bad because I've had it out so much. But it is one of those, when you pick one, you want one that's comfortable. You want one that has pockets because trust me, you're going to want to have your phone close by. You're going to want to have a couple of baits close by. But the biggest thing is it gives you another reason to wear it all the time. With all your stuff in your pockets, you're like, well, I know where my tools are. I know where everything else is. But another thing is you want the pad to be, or the back flotation to be high. So if you got a kayak with a seat, it doesn't hit the seat and cause you to lean forward in your seat. You want to be able to be as comfortable as you can. So NRS Chinook is the one I recommend. And I think they're about $120, $125, but they're really worth it. And I personally have met people where that thing has saved their life. So, Cody Henley, you're in the Delta ready for the Hobie BOS. Man, I wish I could go out there and fish the Delta. That's on my bucket list. Goodness gracious. Well, have fun. Sorry, I was reading something else. Have fun and good luck, man. Could you do a video on identifying grass and specific tactics for each? Sorry about confusion with IDing. Oh, that's so hard to do. There's so many different types of grass, and it depends on the part of the country you're in. The biggest thing is not so much identifying them, but understanding how the fish locate or get positioned on grass. Prime example is Florida. One day they'll be on one type of grass. The other day they may be on another type of grass. They move back and forth. They like edges. Sometimes one type of grass is creating more oxygen than the others. And it just all depends. The biggest thing is always fish the live grass, the green grass. Stay away from the dead brown stuff or the stuff that's dying. Good example, I was fishing a tournament years ago with Ryan. This was the first tournament that Ryan and I ever won together. I caught a 9.98. It's actually the first tournament I ever fished Seagar as well. I was using 8-pound test fluorocarbon, caught a 9.98 out of the grass, a 6.5 out of the grass, and we had a total of 25.5 pounds and won it by 13 pounds. But the grass the trick was, the pattern was, it was in the fall, early fall in September, and the milfoil, or the grass that was out there, was starting to die off. And I had to go around and spent 3 days before the tournament dragging a 2-ounce jig around, pulling up grass. And I marked 3 spots that had green grass that were still alive, and never caught a fish there, never did anything else, and went on the tournament. And that's where we caught all our big fish, was on that live grass. So make sure it's live, especially getting into September, October, November. And if you can find the green grass, you'll find the fish. So, but don't worry so much about what type of grass it is. That's good to know, but I'm one of those guys that has to know the type and what every tree is and what every bush is and stuff like that. But to catch fish, it's not that important. Is there any kayaks for bigger guys, 400 pounds? Whew. I'm not sure. What is the Native Titan is a really good kayak for big people. What I would suggest, because I'm limited in what I know about it, but go on to Facebook and go to KBF's website, Kayak Bass Fishing, and ask that question on there, and you'll get some big guys who will respond and answer and let you know what their experiences are with certain kayaks. And then ignore all the skinny people. Seriously, you're going to get, when you ask that, you're going to get 700 different suggestions. Only pay attention to the big dudes. So real ramen. I'm late, darn it. Oh, and then when you find out, be sure to get a hold of David Fields in Augusta. He's that guy that donated $50 earlier. He's a big dude too, and I have no clue what kayak to put him in. Going to fish heavy milfoil and pads this weekend in Ohio. Summer eat. Where do you recommend? With the milfoil, look for the clumpy stuff, the stuff that's got like a big patch here and a big patch here and a big patch here, and fish a light Texas rig, like an 1/8 ounce Texas rig, but fish it on 18 or 17 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon. With pads, I'm either fishing a frog or I'm fishing a weightless worm, a weightless trick worm that you jerk through the pads, or I'm horizontal fishing, or vertical fishing, not horizontal fishing, vertical fishing, flipping a heavy weighted Texas rig into the pads. And I like 1.25 ounces because I can literally punch a hole through the pads to get into it. So, but that's 65 pound braid, big heavy rod. But the outside edge is where I'm going to look first. And most of the time I'm going to be fishing that outside edge to where the bass will come out and ambush whatever I'm fishing. So, any ideas on what bait to take to Michigan in September in a John boat? To Michigan in September in a John boat. September in Michigan. I don't know what lake you're fishing. Dude, in September in Minnesota, when I go up there and fish, I'm in La Crosse, Wisconsin, I'm throwing a frog. I'm throwing a frog all day long. But up in Michigan, I don't know. I really don't. Only time I've been there is in the springtime. But I don't know. I'd be shooting bull up, crap up your butt if I tried to tell you what what to throw up there. Sorry, man. Dinks and Love too. Thanks for the $15. Says, hey Fluke, what is another rig to fish other than a Ned rig to use when the bite is tough? Thanks for all the info. A Nico rig is a good one. It really is. It's a different bite though. It's in a different type of fishing. You don't feel as much, but hook it weedless and use a Nico rig, and it literally, you can just bounce it off the bottom. It takes a little bit of learning, and watch not only my video, there's several other good videos about the Nico rig out there. I hit the highlights, but there's a lot of detailed videos about the Nico rig, and it works really, really good. So, ever fish in Pennsylvania? I have not fished in Pennsylvania. So I know you like fishing shallow, but what's the deepest bass you've ever caught? Actually, I don't like fishing shallow. I like fishing 12 foot deeper, but that's just me. And I do fish shallow a lot. But anyway, deepest bass I've ever caught, 54 feet. I caught it on a drop shot the day that Mike Buca, the guy that makes the bull shad swim bait, The day that he taught me how to fish a drop shot many years ago. That was a big, still the deepest fish I've ever caught. And it was a spotted bass. So where are the big bass down in your area? I'm catching them in 20 feet of water, North Carolina, off points. Are you using large soft plastics? I'm using 10, 11, and 14-inch worms, and I'm catching them in 10 to 12 feet of water right now. Not very deep, and it's all a water clarity thing. If it was super clear water, they'd be down 20 feet deep. But right now we don't. We had an algae bloom a couple of weeks ago that kind of murked up the water, and they're staying shallow at this point. So, but it's still offshore. I'm still way offshore. Yeah, all my buddies around here can tell you exactly what worm and what color I've been throwing because I've been throwing it for 3 months. When pond or small lake fishing, what should I use to target the bigger bass? You got, well, to me, I just use bigger baits. And I go back to a lake that I used to fish when I lived over on the other side of Atlanta. It was a neighborhood lake, but I started using big giant lizards and big giant worms, the Magnum lizard from Z-Man, the old monster, and even the longer worm. And the little fish would bite it, but the big fish would just pick it up and swim off with it. So I'd be dragging a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, and all of a sudden my rod would just go away from me, and they'd almost rip my rod out of my hand. That was a small fish, and I just let him take it and then pull it out of his mouth. But the big fish would suck the whole worm in and just kind of start to swim off, and I'd set the hook. Just bigger baits weed out the smaller fish. A big swim bait, a big crankbait, that kind of stuff. The small fish know they can't get it in their mouth, so they're not going to get to it, and you're only going to catch big fish. You're not going to get very many bites, but you're going to catch big fish. I like the 9 and 11-inch bull shad, but that's a giant bait, and it's like throwing a tennis shoe all day long. Are they generally deeper in the summer or winter? They get deeper in the wintertime. In the summertime, most lakes that get really hot, they stratify, or they layer out, and you got a thermocline that's the bottom of the oxygenated water. And after that thermocline, it's all dead water. It's just filled with junk, and it's just not, the bass can't survive down there long. So they typically don't stay down there very long, and that prevents them from going deeper. In the wintertime, they can go from as deep as they want to the shallow as they want to. So do you fizz when catching that deep? When do you just learn that word today? Fizzing a fish is when you puncture using a needle, and I use a syringe needle, but we put it in under a specific spot in the fish and go in and puncture their air bladder when you've caught them so deep. Typically, when you're catching them deep, and if you can release them right away, they'll go right back down and be no problem at all. And you won't have to fizz them. But if you're going to keep them in your live well during a tournament, which I don't recommend, I hate summer tournaments when you got to put them in your live well, then you're going to have to fizz them to be able to help them survive. And you've really got to do it. You got two options: go in through their mouth, which is really risky. There's a lot of vessels and stuff around the inside of their mouth, or go just behind their pectoral fin, or I think it's called pectoral fin. Back a few scales and then go under, poke in, and go at a little angle, and you'll hear the air come out. But you can kill them that way too, so you got to be really careful. There's some good videos about it. But goodness. Let's see. Alex Hazel, what hard bait would you use for bass to get to the 10 to 15 foot mark where they're sitting at right now in the water column? Oh, and Clint says hi. What's going on, Clint? Deep diving crankbait, because that's where you can really regulate how deep they go. 13's coming out. Just came out with some new ones that are only like $7. I tested them all. I've got a box of the prototypes right here in my office, but they're very true to their depth. They work really good. I actually caught a few on the prototypes, but deep diving crankbait, usually you can find them that go anywhere from 12 to 16 feet deep. You can find them that go deeper, but you're talking 10, 15. So those are the ones I look for. The DD22 is the old classic. The 6, what do you call it? The Strike King 6XD goes that deep, that kind of stuff. Just, that's what I would be throwing as a crankbait. So, how should I fish a swim bait in a small lake? I'd fish it the same way I fished in a big lake, really just fast. In shallow water, in small water, or even in small areas on a big lake where I know there's a lot of fish, I'm going to fish a swim bait fairly fast, just under the surface, and I'm just going to be an erratic swim, and I'm just going to jerk my rod around and make this thing do crazy stuff in that really super shallow water. And what that does is it gives a bass a target, and they know that the bait that's swimming real close to the surface can't go any further. They're not going to get away going away from the fish, and the bass is going to come up underneath them and eat them. But it's a reaction bite. It's a, ooh, there's a bait. Ooh, it's leaving. I got to go get it. And that's kind of what it is. So, Thomas Goodner says, Gene, that advice you gave me the other day on Instagram was very beneficial. Good, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad it helped. That's awesome. Did you catch anything? That's all I want to know. What bait to throw bank fishing in Georgia? I don't think it matters where you're at. More of a water temperature thing and a clarity thing. But in the summertime, I throw soft plastics 99% of the time, unless I'm trying to catch them on a crankbait. Today I was throwing a deep diving crankbait a little bit more than I normally have because my soft plastics bite kind of slowed down a lot over the last few days. So I was trying a crankbait. That didn't work. But anyway, those are the two things I typically throw in the summertime, at least now. It changes all the time. I have to make videos. I have to make new videos all the time. So I'm always trying new things or trying to get to the point where I'm not making the same video over and over again. If I made the same video over and over again the last 3 months, because all I've been fishing is that slow drag Texas rig, that's all you'd get is a video on the Texas rig, just like I did 3 months ago. He says, yes, absolutely. Good. Congratulations, Thomas. That's awesome. Johnny Ringo. Oh, I love that movie. Anyway, I know you fish bluegill. Are they back on beds for a second spawn yet, or is it too early? I don't know where you live. Ours have already spawned 3 times and they're done here in Georgia. That they started spawning in April this year, and they are spawn in April, May, and June. Or they spawn a little bit in April, but mostly May, June, July are when they started to spawn. They're all done now. So, let's see. Star Cook, Gene, I live in North Carolina, and I'm having trouble with the topwater bite in the morning, trying to figure out if it's just the fact it's too hot or what. Any suggestions? Whew. Let me think for a minute. My thought is that I don't know if you're bank fishing or fishing from a boat or what, but the fish tend to go really shallow into the edge of cover at night, and they're cruising along the edge of like grass lines, and they're on the outside edge of trees, really, really shallow, trying to find stuff. And I catch more fish super, super shallow early in the morning on topwater than I do anywhere else. So if you don't think you're fishing shallow enough, go shallower, and you'll be able to find them. Dan, thanks for the $5, man. He says, and I just clicked on it. He says, greetings from Syracuse. Oh, I love Syracuse, New York. Thousand Islands is one of my favorite places on the planet. Love your channel. Was wondering if you've ever fished New York, and if so, what you've done well with here. Oneida is my home lake. The only time I fished in New York is over in Buffalo. I have a media event that I go to every year. Of course, it was canceled this year, but it's in May, and we go smallmouth fishing, and we fish the Niagara River for like trout and what else do we catch? Whatever bites, smallmouth bass, that kind of stuff. And it's just a blast. That's the only time I've ever fished New York. So I don't know much about it any other time than May. But thanks for the $5, man. I appreciate it. Johnny, thanks for the $5, man. Johnny Ringo. Gosh almighty. You're going to make me want to go watch that movie now. I'm in a walking boot from ankle surgery. Any tips for better bass bank fishing? Oh, no, dude. Oh, I was in a walking boot in the Army for 6 months because I broke my leg in a stupid way. It wasn't me doing something stupid. A sergeant told me to do something stupid, and I did it and broke my leg. But anyway, um, dude, I don't know. Just be careful. The biggest thing, have yourself a little small chair to sit on, a little packing chair. I have a little small tripod chair that I have in my truck for when I forget my camp chair. But yeah, have somewhere to sit and rest. Russ Dennis, hey brother, how do you feel about Seaguar and VizX? Because I really like, especially in the higher pound test. In 2006, I bought my first spool of InvizX. It was 8-pound test. I talked about this earlier today when I used it the first time, but it was InvizX. I fished a tournament. I caught a 9.98-pound bass out of the grass, and that 8-pound line cut through the milfoil like it was butter. And from then on, I've been hooked. Seaguar to me, and I'm sponsored by them now, but I haven't. It's only been a couple, 2-3 years. It is the best line on the market. They love making the best line on the market. It's not, they're not trying to make the most money out of the cheapest crap. They're making good stuff and you know, enough to make money to be able to keep the business going. I love it. I love it. I've graduated to a BrazeX now, but InvizX is still a great line. I just love it. Anyway, let's see. We're at about an hour. Before I end real quick, guys, I just want to remind you to register to vote. I'm not political. It is not my place to tell anybody how and where and you know who to vote for. I refuse to do that. I'm an againstocrat. I always vote against the worst person. And so I'm not here to tell you how to vote. Just go register to vote. The election in November is critical. It's a very important time in our nation's history. And do your research and everything else, but go register. Just going to remind you guys to do that. But guys, I appreciate you joining me. I am sorry I didn't get to everybody's comment. Be sure to go to my website, flukemaster.com, buy a sticker, stick it on something, post it on Instagram, hashtag stuck on fluke, and enter the tournament or enter the giveaway where I give away a $50 gift card to Tackle Warehouse and a $50 gift card to my website. That's $100. And then next May, end of next May, I'm going to draw from all the winners, and then I'm going to come to whoever won. I'm going to come to your house and take you fishing. So, guys, y'all are awesome. I really appreciate it. Like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.